right, let's dive right into this one. So, how to get happy and to stay happy. In other words, how to manage your happiness. People, this is very, very doable. Very doable. Um, there's several really important ways that you can do this. Um, I'm going to talk about one of the ways in this video, and there's about maybe 4 or 5 ways that I can think of. And if you combine the ways together, it just increases your ability to manage your happiness. But even if you just do one of these techniques or one of these methods, it's enough. But if you do more than one, you're reinforcing. So the one method, the one technique I'm going to talk about today is what I call managing your peaks and your valleys. Peaks being your highs, your when you feel good, when you feel energized. If you do anything that makes you feel good, and it could be eating something sweet, that rush of um, energy, the sugar rush to your brain. It just activates your brain, gives you energy. You feel so good. That's a peak. But then there's the crash after it. There's the valley. Okay, so another peak can be if you have sex and you have like your orgasm release. It's an incredible high. That's another peak. Other ones can be drugs or alcohol, whatever you take that makes you feel good. It can be food, it can be salty food, it can be oily food, it can be even feeling good around people. They can give you that high. It can be a sport, it can be work, anything that gives you that high. So those are the peaks, and then the valleys are when you feel bad, when you feel low, when there's the loneliness, the depression, the anxiety, the negative feelings, the emptiness. Okay, low energy. So you've got the peaks and then the valleys. So how to get happy and to stay happy is all about the first step of all. Always in all my videos, what comes first is awareness. Without awareness, you're going to be dragged around through life without knowing about all this stuff that I'm talking about. And when you're dragged around through life, you're kind of like a slave to your thoughts, to your instincts, to your cravings. But as soon as there is awareness, then you can come in and start to take a little bit more control over what you're doing and where you're going. So what comes first is awareness. Awareness of what? Awareness of the peaks and the valleys that exist in your everyday life. Let me give you an example. I used to drink like maybe 2 Cokes a day. It's just cold cans of Coke every day. I used to love them. I was addicted to those things. I wasn't aware that not only was the crazy amount of sugar in those drinks really bad for my teeth, my liver, my body, but I didn't realize that also for my mind it was giving me an incredible high. So I would feel so amazing, and I would look forward the whole day just to having that rush. Not only a sugar rush, but it was like cold and fizzy. So, the guys at Coca-Cola are really clever in how they created a legal drug, that takes you to such a high place, not just with the sweetness, but with the cold, refreshing, and also the buzz, the sensation of that carbonation in there. Okay, the carbonation opens up your tongue and your and just allows you to taste even more, and the cold as well. So they're real geniuses. The problem is highs don't last forever, and what happens in your mind, the way I look at the mind is like I look at it almost like, are you guys familiar with a vinyl record, like how you carve music into a vinyl record? In a similar way, you've got your brain, your mind, and every experience that you have like carves a path of memory in your brain, and it will be there for so long, even you could argue forever, until while you're around, it will always be there, that memory. Sure, it will fade over time, but it was an experience that you had, and it's in the brain. But it's not only that if you have a high experience, like let's say I was happy my whole life just drinking water, and I was happy, everything was great, and then someone said, here, have this nice cold bottle of Coke. And then when I had that, oh my goodness, this new experience was carved into my mind, and water is no longer good enough. Water is actually boring, and I need Coke. Coke is what it's all about for me. So being aware that not only is the high that you have experienced, let's say, keep using Coke as an example, but there's many things: sex, drugs, food, like I said. So let's stick with Coke for now. When you carve that mental memory path in your mind of that high feeling, and now your mind for the first time knows that feeling of that high feeling, you're not only carving the high feeling, but you're also carving the valley. Because think about it. Our minds are really intelligent, and not only are they determining the data of what it is involved with that high, but also the absence of the high. Our mind knows what that high is now, but it also knows what it is to be without the high. Okay, so when we experience something that takes us to a really high, euphoric, amazing, stimulated place, where we have to be aware, this is why awareness comes in, that not only are you giving yourself this peak, but you're giving yourself the equivalent valley as well. Which is why so many people go through very, very difficult time during a breakup or a loss or just withdrawal from an addiction. It could be to drugs, could be to like food. This is why people find it hard to go on diets. It's not a physical thing, it's more of a mental depression and emptiness, and they need to fill that up, and the only thing they believe that they can fill it up with is their ex or a sweet drink or coffee or cigarettes or whatever it is. Okay, so in a sense, in a funny sense, in order to get happy and stay happy, we have to become aware of how peaks affect us mentally and how valleys affect us mentally. And in a way, we have to become our own drug dealer. And a good drug dealer will have a satisfied customer for a long time. A bad drug dealer is his customer is going to die in a couple of weeks, and he's lost a customer. But a good drug dealer will have customers, keep them around for as long as possible so they can keep buying his drugs. And you, in a funny way, have to be your own drug dealer. So you have to know when to give yourself that high and how much of a high to give yourself. Or when to give yourself the low and how much of a low to give yourself. You're probably wondering, what am I talking about with the lows? So let's go into this. The lows is almost like a secret weapon that I use, and a lot of other people use as well, as a secret power tool to get happy and to stay happy. Because let's say this is your normal level, and up here are all the highs. Let's say you like I'll give you an example. The other day, I don't eat much sweets and stuff. I have some cake sometimes. I love cake and I love like juices, but I try to like keep them close to normal, my highs. I don't go for the really sugary stuff or the really salty. I try to keep it, in a good area. So the other day I went out and I had like this super sweet like frozen yogurt. I just thought, I'm just gonna like have it. I was on a date, so why not? Let me just have fun. And I tell you, it was like a sugar crazy spike, and I went up here. The following day, I went to where I usually go every day for lunch to have some pho. It's like a Vietnamese soup. I had a bowl of pho and my watermelon juice, which they make it fresh. They blend the watermelon. They put a little honey in there for me because they blend it with ice. I tell you, my pho wasn't as tasty and my watermelon juice wasn't as sweet. And why? Because the day before, my tolerance, sugar high, had gone up here. My pleasure peak had gone up here. So those things now were a little more dull. Okay? So what I wanted to do was put a bit more taste in my soup and put a little bit more sugar in my watermelon juice. But that would be a mistake. That's how you people go down the slippery road, and then you build your tolerance, and then the normal pho or water or normal life just becomes dull and boring and lonely and empty and sad and depressing. And then you need to be giving yourself all these things, yeah? And you're just digging the hole deeper and deeper for yourself. So I hope that kind of makes some sense. So what to do when you have how to manage your peaks is that when you do treat yourself and you have something amazing, you have to let your tolerance come back down again. So yes, you have to have the pho and the watermelon juice without sugar, without extra salts in the pho, until you get used to that again, and then you start to enjoy that again. Or you can do the secret weapon that I'm about to talk about, which is diving into a valley. And most of us stumble into the valley, or we're thrown into the valley, because after our high, there's the inevitable crash. When you are in a high in a relationship, and then all of a sudden you go through breakup, boom, the total opposite happens. It's the same with if you eat, like I had the frozen yogurt, you immediately have a crash after it. But it doesn't have to be that way. It can be that you're just having your everyday life here in normal level land, and you consciously decide that I'm going to go into a valley. And what I'm talking about here is not that you're consciously going to become depressed. No, you're consciously going to do something hard. You're going to do some work. And for example, if I'm in the gym training really hard, it's not fun. It's hard work. But you train, you work hard, and then you come down here, and then you kind of like embrace the difficulty, and you learn to live with this difficulty here. And then when you finish your training, you have something normal. A glass of water tastes amazing. You have a nice cold glass of water, and I tell you, it is so good. It's so good when you're having a hard workout. You see this gap here? So this is your hard training, and this is just a normal glass of water. This is the same as if you were normal and then you had like a can of Coke, which is up here. You see? So you've turned something normal into something awesome. Okay? And by going in and working hard, and it doesn't have to be going in the gym, it can be like just working at work. Any type of activity that requires discipline, that requires work, can be meditating, it can be anything. It can be anything, but it's when you decide, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to work, and then your rewards can be just normal things. And I tell you, like, I train around professional MMA fighters, and I see that they train twice a day. I train the same. I try to train as hard as I can, and training like in the morning and at night, all they do is training. They're putting their body through so much hard work that their treats are surprisingly simple, and it's just normal stuff. Like food becomes an amazing treat. Water, becomes an amazing treat. Sleep, rest, these things become just incredible, stimulating, beautiful things. So you can see how, if you learn how to master your peaks and your valleys, you can, from this point in your life, from right now, you can start to take control of your happiness. And you can, if you're wise, if you use wisdom, you can apply this for the rest of your life. And you can just keep an eye on your peaks. So if someone says, hey, let's have ice cream tonight, you'll be like, okay, I'll have ice cream tonight. But then the next day, they're like, hey, let's get some more ice cream. Then you can start to be like, hey, I need to be aware of my happiness. And my happiness is important to me. So I'm going to sacrifice and say, no, I think one ice cream a week or one every 2 days or 3 days is enough for me because I want my tolerance to come back down here. Or, like a lot of people don't realize, is people who train really hard in the gym or are doing MMA or whatever. A lot of people who do that, like myself, we train hard to eat hard. So we'd love to train hard so that we can enjoy some of these things up here, yeah? But also remember that if you have your normal level and then you have the crazy highs, you got to figure out where those highs are for you. Where's coffee? Where's tobacco? Where is sugar? Where's can of Coke? Because in between, man, I need to get a whiteboard or something eventually. But in between here and let's say a sexual orgasm, there's also lots of different levels that you can enjoy, and you can play in all this happiness. You don't have to just go from normal to a donut, or from normal to watching porn and just masturbating, or having an orgasm 4 times a day. That's too much, because then normal is going to become depressing. Okay, so learn, first of all, figure out where you are in this balance, and then try to bring yourself into balance by using the valleys, like I said, or kind of be aware and limiting some of your highs. I'm not saying don't enjoy all these amazing things that exist. No, enjoy them. But realize that if you're happy as you are, then you don't need to try cocaine. If you're happy as you are, you don't need to have a can of Coke. Okay, so understand that. Pace yourself through life. Some people will be like, oh, I want to do everything before I die. Guess what? You're not going to be able to do a fraction of everything. You're just not. And you know what? I'll go beyond that and say that it's pointless to try to do everything, because just enjoy. It's all about enjoying. It's equivalently as good, or let's say it's equally as good, to just enjoy thoroughly doing less as it is to enjoy doing a lot of things. They're both as good. The bottom line is enjoying, being happy with what you're doing. So I'm going to wrap this video up, and I hope that there's something in here that helps. But look, people, we have the ability to manage our happiness. And this is just one technique. There's several other ones, okay? Like being grateful for what you have. And it's, in a way, it's what we're talking about. It's related. And when you go through a breakup, for example, you go down here, it's similar to when you're consciously doing something hard and working out. When you're in a breakup, you're down here, and you're learning to become at one with this and become okay with this. And when you do, guess what? Normal becomes amazing, and all this becomes even more amazing. So for those of you out there struggling, breakup, depression, whatever, loss, embrace where you are. Learn to become okay with what you have. Learn to be grateful with what you have. And then everything else is just going to be gravy. It's going to be amazing. All right, so I'm sending everybody out there good luck, lots of energy, lots of love and power. And if you have any questions, just put them in the comments below, and I'll try to get to them. And look, I'm getting a lot of emails every day now, and it's getting a little bit more difficult to reply to everyone. And I just want you all to know that if you do watch my videos, like I do coaching now. I've been doing it for the past 3 or 4 months, and it is paid coaching. I charge very little because I want to help more. But I am also trying to reply to everyone I get emails from anyway. But so if you can keep your emails shorter, that will help me to reply. Okay. All right, people. Sending out love, and remember what comes first. Awareness. So learn awareness. Practice your awareness. And I've put some videos on how to become more aware. All right, I'm going to go do some boxing, get punched in the face, and try to punch some people in the face too. Adios for now.